After weeks of delays and repeated attempts to stifle her testimony, we, the American people, through the Senate Intelligence Committee, finally got to hear from Sally Yates, Acting Attorney General. Yes, indeed, Senate Judiciary Committee, excuse me, my mistake. Yates testified alongside former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, and she did not disappoint. Now, here are the main takeaways there for you at home. Thing number one, the White House ignored Yates' warning about Michael Flynn. During Monday's hearing, we learned that earlier in the day, the Trump administration said that she had spoken to White House Counsel twice in person, once in the phone, in order to warn the White House that then National Security Advisor Michael Flynn was vulnerable to Russian blackmail after lying to the Vice President. Yet, the White House waited 18 days to fire Flynn after getting the warning from Sally Yates. Thing number two, Republicans would please like to talk about anything else. Throughout the hearing of our good friend Sally Yates, we heard Republicans ask her questions about the travel ban in Muslim-majority countries. We heard the Republicans ask her questions about the unmasking of names of Trump officials in intelligence reports. At one point, Clapper appeared, a little pissed that Republican senators for, taking the hearing off track, saying, I understand how critical leaks are and unmasking and all of these ancillary issues, but to me, the transcendent issue here is the Russian interference in our election. And number three, Sally Yates, while not, quote, like Republicans want to paint out some sort of Republican, Democratic political operative, that's not true. She worked Justice Department for about 30 years. She's unflappable. And folks, let me tell you, you guys watching on YouTube, you guys watching on Facebook, you guys watching on Instagram, you loved it. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. Monday's hearing showed Yates as a force to be reckoned with. For many in the public and the media, this was the first time we actually saw Yates speak alone, and let me tell y'all something, she stood her ground. My favorite part was when they sort of got it, they started talking about this travel ban, and it was Cornyn from Texas who gets up and he says, well, Miss Yates, don't you think this was political or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And she says, I'm glad you brought up the conversation when I was here the first time. And I told you that I would be against any policy that destroyed the legacy of the Justice Department, that was unconstitutional, and that I felt to be illegal. And I felt about all three things with this travel ban. Now that the Yates testimony is out the way, we now know that the Trump administration is tone deaf to what career government officials are telling them. Right? So when the acting Attorney General of the United States, who has critical acclaim from both sides of the aisle, who was literally approved overwhelmingly by both Democrats and Republicans, says, Mr. President, through his counsel, hey, there's some problems here with Mike Flynn. We think based upon some of his filings, based upon our investigation, we think he is subject to blackmail, thus not making him a good choice to be National Security Advisor. And yet you hire him anyway. Mind you, this is the second warning that Donald Trump got. The first warning came from the President of the United States himself, Michael Flynn's former boss. Remember, Michael Flynn was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, right? So he managed, and the president found him to be woefully incompetent and fired him. And then Donald Trump picked him up, and he went to different rallies, and he said, lock her up, and he blamed Obama, and he called Obama all these names. Basically, here's the truth. Mike Flynn was a disgruntled employee who was fired, and Donald Trump chose to pick up the soggy leftover garbage of Barack Obama and put him as his national security advisor, and to Donald Trump's demise. Right? Now, Republicans are going to go out there and say, oh, well, we fired him, we need to move on. No, we don't need to move on. The job of the president requires high-level judgment. I mean, this guy has the nuclear football. He controls our nuclear weapons. He controls thousands and thousands of troops. He controls trillions and trillions of dollars. I want somebody who has good judgment. And good judgment tells me when the former person who had your job tells you the person you're getting ready to hire is not a good fit, and your lawyer, Sally Yates was the president's lawyer at this time, tells you that this guy's not a good fit, and you hire him anyway, you've got to really be a buffoon.